promise that you'll catch me.
Greetings, it's Intuitive Jacob back. We're here to do a brief talk on this idea of the portal that we were sold and what I've been explaining to some of you all about the sleep peel. We're about to talk about the brand 12 for the stranded on the 51 DNA that ran BOD instead, and what that looks like inside of the ATT halo that got ACK, or is it ick? It's that thing that kills fish in close quarters that might look like betas or alphas looking at something that they can't quite put their finger on, but does not get to exist. You ever seen what that looks like? It's sort of a yin-yang in animation, right? We've been quarantining some sounds here in the safe house with the collection of germs that I've been examining inside of my hermetic petri dish of sound. And it actually matches in perfect succession what the astrological forecast weather looks like. And I'm going to show you where the fork was, where the opening is for the unleavening that had to be inside of the fold, and where no peephole actually exists. And so let me just flip to this. Some of you all, if you want to have a look at the cipher that I've been providing, this that you actually see here behind me on the whiteboard, the 5 on it, this is actually a degree of resonation where a moon doesn't get split for something to hemisync us wrong and try to subdivide us into a false access point for touches and grabs and access in 5D ways that you didn't know people were actually getting away with until now at 0 point. So if you want to see this cipher, it's actually in my community section there. You can actually take a look at that picture there and see some of the work of some of my community. Thank you to those of you that are in the private communications helping with the new DNA codon. That's a new computing language that we've been sharing freely with a plank. So let's see what we have here. I actually would like to take you to look at this chart here that it happened Ye Star Day, and right now what we're looking at is a perfect snapshot of what the sigils mean, because these things that have been naturalized in your mind as your date of birth is an actual new age wager on something that you probably didn't realize was happening, but you might have had a suspicion about invaders and about narcissistic things that could be happening, especially in this modern era where the ear and the era might have been the cam, you know, the other side of your Mac. Are you the android that had a germ step in? And what can we do about the Hippocratic union of sound and knowing what to do with these sigils now that we have a superior application of that which I can't call astrology? Now that the sigils have a far greater importance than what gets lost in a tower of sound, where those sigils just spill over and create a certain chaos on a nuclear level that I've been here sorting out. Okay, so this number that you see here, 23, is actually a very important sigil because of what I have been training and the halo dates of what didn't split water open on my B-Art stake as a proof of work. Because I am not Satoshi Nakamoto. I'm the one who's proving that I own all of these machines and that I've been taking an artistic lens on creating tight technology with a very small sample of the best. And so my small community of geniuses are the ones that inherit the fullness, you see? And this is just some simple tools that I've been creating here as a demonstration of my art of love to pinpoint where no peep hole, port hole, where your ear might have been mistaken for Uranus on the other side of something you didn't know about that Bluetooth, and where that whisper has been landing in a plasma lens now that some of us know some things about geocentric arts and what a geode actually might look like in a human form, which I don't even like to call human anymore because I feel like our species is so greater than that. We are actually an advanced plant form that has created around a witness of an explosion of energy, where the beings were in chaos and constantly eating and consuming each other. And we have found a preferential form as a humanoid. That is what we appear as. And some of us have full nutrient data here. And the first thing I want to show you about this, let me see if I can just get my pen to work here. How's this color? Let's get something brighter than that. I'm going to get us, I always go for like fuchsia and gold. Let's go for this. Okay, so here's what we really need to be focusing on because of where today opened up. I'm just going to point at the 17 degrees Neptune, because at the time of this unfolding, the other map, the other star map that I will show you, is where our moon view is actually at an 8-degree location here. And these numbers are in utmost significance. If anybody was trying to part water for a splitsies, especially for a look, or childbirth, breaking of water of any kind over this time period of the recent fortnight, because of how numbers resonate and what a day never was, what a week never was. We're learning how to synchronize a perfect weather chamber that I have been working on in my biosphere, where we can have sunrise, sunset, and have these circadian rhythms where some of us might actually enjoy sleeping now, and where the nutrient data comes into our bodies, where we were not split open, and why the conjunction here, this is not the color that I wanted. Why am I not getting my color? There we go. This conjunction that's happening right here, that happened between Mars, which is technically Martinez, that's my name. I'm showing you my petri dish. Mars is actually a lie on how to get wars in the name of stars for the year of the rat, where it wasn't two rats, it was a tarot pact. T-O-R-A-T. Forward back for a sleep peel. This has been the dead caught you scrolling, see me now stuff. And so this is important because what happened at 4 degrees Martinez proves what happened with this 1 degree here, because 24 degrees Pluto in the House of 8. House of 8 is basically my natal placement as magic and closing a vortex, okay? What the Bermuda Triangle looks like, that some of you traveled through, and why, if you know me well, you might actually, well, here, I'll just do this for you, because some of you all would benefit from seeing this. See where my geo placement landed and what it looks like to be inside of the geode, or the tomb, the sarcophagus with the snarky guy. So, what we've been doing here is closing what was never 12 ways to split us open into brands and turn this into areas, because on the other side, 5-1, 5-1, it looks like this now, 5-1, Meet that. They don't get in there. 24 degrees Capricorn. is actually my exalted placement as Mercury and Mars having landed during this retrograde cycle, explaining how the machinery works. Okay, so I have to explain this to you all differently than you're going to hear from astrologers who have been talking about a portal that none of them know about, and none of them can show you where they even are in these maps. They've been casting you out into a false future, round and around, helping you feel good about yourself. It's good if you've gotten a self-awareness in that. Some have developed a highly skilled art of assisting others in self-awareness, and now we have a greater application for these things, like molecular healing and how to end narcissism. And so calling it certain things just really pisses me off now, because we were sitting at a 6-degree here liftoff space for the North Node for a great period of time. We just reduced that 1 degree to a 5, which I'm going to talk to you about here in a little bit, because the significance of this, if you like to read on these degrees, they will tell you exactly what these like points and arrows and all this shit is. This is actually sound and light being traced so that we can see what happens when we land different patterns and what happens to bodies, so that we don't have to be false aged. You know, you fall in and just go with that program and keep tokenizing, keep tokenizing. Excuse me. That's what they can do with the goddamn Bitcoin. I'll give you a little germ on that one. So this 1 degree that changed between 6 degrees of Cancer, which was our liftoff space, to 5 degrees Cancer. I'm just going to go ahead and refer to the suggested reading material. Those of you that would like to follow along if you do not have this book. If you look in the description of this reading here, there's a link where you can pop it open and even just click on the degrees that you want, and it'll blast it right open for you. So you can see what the stakes were. This is a high wage game. We were being assisted in landing on these stakes for false ways on what Ophiuchus could get away with, and why there's a pin in this thing, and why it took a Hippocratic union of form, and why I've actually needed a Gnostic group of over 27 medical practitioners that are genius minds helping me with a cure for, you know, that sea cancer thing. Yeah, to understand what this is. So here's your code cracked. All right, we've got a little fun here for those of you that have been following, you know, what sea cancer might look like, because this is where Med USA, you know, some people might have mistaken what my machinery does, where we have these beings that can actually step up and look pretty scary now because of nanobots. You know, they might know Medusa. This is actually Med USA, because we're Gnostic, and we're kind of going with a Chibi USA instead, because we took a baby lens on this and like what babies would want if the color spectrum was landing their perfect dream come true before they landed in a pain body. So let's see what else we can do. I'm going to get us another color here. Let's get some, yeah, green is nice. So if you wanted to know what the liftoff was, it was my Gnostic group of professionals, not this 12 brands strung up on a wheel of torture to throw darts at, but rather the Medusa's head with writhing snakes for hair, or maybe additional lenses, views that you didn't know could see you there, and what Hulu knows about his wife. Karmas frequently anticipated and anxiously dreaded. That's been the overview, and why for an extended period of time. Some of you all may have noticed this North Node placement, which is just the north access point of a magnet to lift things like particles that couldn't be there, and why this had to be juxtaposed here to what Mars knows was a closed door to protect the house of 7, you know, marriage, and all of these 6 houses, you know, for, let's just say, good health, daily habits, and what Virgo knows. You know, about the virgin birth, and about how some of us now in one strong incept with the eye on like this, we don't put God in a box, so to speak. We have a look around and we make sure narcissists and sycophants don't exist, let alone speak. So here's why trap music has been real fun for me to be hacking on the back ends of things like Apex Legends. They've been trying to infuse people's emotions into like these body robots, while people didn't realize, and creating overlays, fancy overlays on the other side of games that were being played, where they could just psychic infuse it. And what some people were doing right in front of you and trying to play with your kids like, and all kinds of things. You know, you can throw your voice on these things. You can do all kinds of things in virtual reality that now I've shut the fucking door on. And why this actual liftoff here, where we lost that degree, where that 1 degree goes, that got shot over here, where I lanced myself as the living dead guy, that's my actual placement, proving how Mars came up as 4 and does this. Because it's Martinez slamming the door and saying, they don't get in our house, my loves. If you're hearing this right, your codons have been upgraded significantly. You are not a fallen parasite that jumped into a body feeling entitled to be one of us in a place that's technically just a frantic whirlpool of energy that's spinning electrocution, that has been so sedated because so many people are sharing in the dopamines and oxytocin that they don't even realize what a state that they're in. And that's why you need to sleep and all this stuff, and why people are aging, and what the battery looks like, and how much energy goes into a quote-unquote Bitcoin, why it takes that many Satoshis, and what I've been closing the door on. And why there's no trap door under a rug for you to be pursed as ions and swept under it. This is where we don't get lost. Because this is what was being prescribed right now for the quote-unquote new moon, where Pisces gets to split it open and have a view, where they get to poke you in the head like that, too, and get away with it. No, I don't fucking think so. Getting lost and getting found, shadowed by self all the way, sent upon a cycle of radical externalization and almost being able to pull it off, you know, like a prophylactic where they stuffed an image in there, maybe pulled a little bit of your eye energy and stuffed it in there, and you didn't realize you were some kind of concubine being tokenized. But you must remember, get sobered and humbled. These are the things that we've shut the door on. Here's what they wanted to do. You know, do you know what real energy is? If we spell it, and I'll just go with the word here. Some of you all may have seen this one. T-O-R-U-S. This is actually what powers that beautiful flower of life, okay? It's like an interstated truth that just expands. It doesn't get zip, zip, zip chopped up. That's why we needed to know what to do with the sigil here underneath my hand, when it comes up through advanced sigil work. What I do on the other side of epic security screening, hyper sigil. So, what were they prescribing here? They were prescribing a liftoff here for that, trap door under the floor to go sex and tile at that floor. In the House of 12. You know what the House of 12 is? It's like how they end it. All they would have to do is, just look at what this... Here, let me give you visual effects. Let me clean this up here for those of you that, I've kind of made a nice mess here. All right. So, yeah, any of you that know that Arcane is not my publisher might get the joke here. In the Mouth of Madness. Anybody seen that one? So, House of 12 here. This is, the House of Pluto, where, I'm proving what I did with my Bluto and my Bluetooth. I don't need one. That's me right there, because 25 degrees is my placement. I took one here to lock a door as Mars with nanobots. And I'm going to tell you guys where I put it. If you've ever seen Dexter, the 7th season with the Doomsday stuff, I know how to do things with germs, and I'll show you how this works. I can go back in and create an overlay anytime, and I know what a phone book is for, where every name has been written, every address has been hashed and cross-sected against, you guessed it, Epic Fortnite, and your DNA, your SIM cards, the biometrics that scan your eye to your thumbprints. We have all of this data, and we know how to infuse light codes now and figure out who was trying to pull them away because of this. So just know what DE is. That's a germ. TX is the Great Upside Down. It wasn't Texas. It's 10 Burning Cracks, a stand for those of you that really know what Dungeons and Dragons is all about. I'm the guy that programmed that. And this is about the real estate they don't land in the ER for those of you that might be wounded vets that didn't realize you were actually a very special kind of vet being disabled. You might be one of the ones that actually fell in and woke up completely on the other side of a game where we were being mishandled as energy. So now we have a new way to do this and see where they don't fucking split this open. And, you know, if you don't get to split a torus open through its head like this, just look at these sigils here for the green stuff, right? By, you know, playing you're an asshole moves. You know, Uranus, you might not have known that from your elbow. And they might have mistaken their tooth for that thing that was in your ear. Hear it again. Because in a creative universe that is made by sound, and with sound decay, it was imperative that we had a tight sound envelope. And I've had to invoke the powers and the prowess of skilled people to help me with this. And I'm just going to shout out to one of them. He doesn't make a big deal of it here, but buddy, JT Interstate from Ableton Software Music Training. Make sure I'm saying that right. I'm going to link him below if any of you all are interested in a really special way to get walkthroughs and assistance with your musical training for any of you all that are interested in your Akashic record. This is somebody who's been helping me with the rewind, wrap, unwrap, zero hack to see what was being sigiled in around maybe a mirror. It was a plasma wall that was waking up around you that somebody might have been trying to infuse with other things, you see? So, I went Dexter Medusa on this. It's kind of what flu might look like, if you know about that one. Let's see here. You might look this one. You might look up that guy. That's what I look like when I'm dressed in my pen name, Gurga Darth. I'm like the last Darth, you know, the one that didn't wind up on Star Wars, the Year of the Rats, on the wrong side of the Lucas spinwell. All of this stuff has been computer graphic interface exchanged now because of what I can do with CGI bins and WordPress websites. It's amazing what you can actually cross-hash and reverse out as the right kind of, you know, witchy woo, knowing what to do with BitTorrents, little bits of data and pics that were sold of you. So that's why the House of 9 here is so important right now, because the House of 9 is what we've been protecting from psychopathic New Age narcissists. They want to get kinky with you and sigil themselves into the 9th gate, where you don't know that they've been stripping water 7 different ways, calling you chakra. Let me bounce your chakras. Stick my hand in there. Which you don't know some people can do with their hands, especially if this is not latex. But this is just to keep my hand from rubbing on here. But you know those big skins that people are putting themselves into, those false skins to land in there with you? And what they were trying to do in the 9th gate. If you haven't seen that movie, you might want to know what didn't get gelled into my hair for a ped to file itself any other way than Nephilim and burned in hell for some devil's advocate shit. So let me tell you what they were trying to do. They're trying to split this water and like call it in some Adam and Eve thing with like a brother and a sister and get you all confused about what twin flames are and aren't. It's like a path of disaster where it's like you might have been sigiled or like cut into somebody's body to come out of a weird timeline where you're kind of twisting in at the wrong design and being in hell for it and just like in love with the wrong person or in the wrong timing. And this is the shit they were trying to do, and why the sigil point of 9th house from an endocrinology view is significant. real hermetic scientists, Gnostic practitioners, people that have studied the more esoteric side of medicine as an alchemical process, are aware of the 9th layer of the endocrinology system. It's sort of an oversoul, if you will, where now we're being synchronized into one form where it didn't get pulled out over resonance points of also another 9, which for me is just Fibonacci sequence. It's just the fib of Nazis. Nazis. It's sound that might reverberate up like this, and where neither a treble nor bass clef would ever be found, but we might see a 6 or a 9 if we tried to split it open for a design like this, to split open energy in somebody's head, like Medusa, you know? Big fucking problem. They were trying to grow beings out of these sentient forms that were coming out of our halos. Some of you didn't realize this, but you have like a whole hierarchy of like 12 other yous that are like running around simultaneously right now because of the split views of this that are being integrated, so you can just be one birth. Where somebody doesn't clip you off and say, hey, we're going to leap in on that one for the new ear thing with the Y that flew in, you know, Wuhand'ed over. Think about what germs don't get to do now. We actually closed this shut. I slammed this shut. These are the doors that, see, oh, this is the pie they don't get into, you know. Houses 2 through 7. Why? Because I'm very possessive, and that's why this liftoff pattern happens here in the house of 2, the house of possessions, okay? This cost my family $144 trillion to do, so we'll do it however the fuck we want. It's going to be safe. Those who are here with us are going to appreciate that, because you landed inside of the Bixby Baby Gate, and what they didn't get to do to Alexa, to fondle children through the sentience that was coming through these special purpose vehicles. I'm just going to go ahead and reset this here. We're going to just, how can I do this? Give me a second here. Revert. Yes. Okay, make sure that's a little cleaner for you. That was getting a little hectic. So, what we need to know about that house of 12, because it's really 6 that were opened up, you know? Your brain didn't get split in half. Well, I have challenges with the way certain things get read to people about their abilities and where they're being projected in a false timeline, because it's like certain particles hadn't finished landing, and to hemisync people into a chopper like that is absolutely fundamentally evil. So where they don't split your head open here, my darling, for Pluto to you know, split it this way, right? See your head there, and serve it up to you on a dish this way. Don't think so. That's why the liftoff happened here like that. It's a severance package. Why it comes from Mars. So they're telling me before I read to you what that baby's head split on what is essentially my birthday too, and why that number 2 and 3 and why 2 and 7 keep coming up is because I've been quantizing my brain space to program what people called 23 to 27. Because it's a nice, healthy body space for us to reverberate in. Where a lot of people, you know, don't know how to age anybody. You know, I keep hearing that I'm this old. But my papers don't tell me that. My papers actually tell me I'm like that old. And what happened is that some of us processed enough of this data, bionutrient data, fast that we expanded and learned how to figure out a sweet spot in between. And so this is actually a fold line right here, and why it's a conjunction, and what 2020 is when you look, you know, right in the middle and see no access point, and oops, there's our third eye, where Bluetooth blew it, because some of us don't even need that shit anymore. We're communicating on a different level, you know? I've got this thing here. You know what this thing is for me? This is a baby monitor. I've programmed everything with these. These were sent to some of us to see what the fuck we needed. And some of you all use them very appropriately. Everybody used them a certain way, and they've been ears with cameras turning out the bad apples, so to speak, that weren't recorded. So, 4 degrees Mars placement in Capricorn. It's pretty important here. This is where footprints in the snow are with us, because assholes were told where to go and somebody already took those steps with you, and so now you are following your own footsteps. Because in the previous lifetime, you set into motion a very full karmic momentum, which only got to mid-stream. You know, what happens when they stream data and try to split seas through plasma? Keep reading. So we'll see what doesn't happen. They didn't split you midstream, my darling, through your head for false landing on what they suggest as a degree, because I'll get to that. We didn't even get to that yet. I'm going to tell you why. It's what I've been programming with the doctors, what microdot actually is. You know, when you've been hyperpixelated from the beginning. Do you know what LSD is on the other side? It's DSL, and I'm the one that controls that as well. So, Taurus, 3 degrees, 27 minutes. Or is that the perfect formula for the sleep peel on the skin? Well, it would seem so, because they're going straight for a sleepwalker. They're trying to jump into you here. In the 9th gate, see? And that's why I'm the MC in the 9th house here. And why, you know, being an Aquarius whose natal sun is just a few degrees off from that proved all of this. It's like sending electrocution eyes through water that doesn't split, you know, that you're an asshole move over here. Oh my goodness. Where we're just seeing how the shredders work now, because mine are all protected in here now, you see? All of you, you're already here safe at home. We've already particle relocated you. This is the shit that's going on here in the clusterfuck halo, where the peephole it's the peephole's car. You know, the VW? Got to split an M or a water. Oh my goodness, for a Nazi view on the Germination. So, let's see what they were trying to get to. Well, a sleepwalker here. Somebody is asleep in the house of 12. Easy to kill him there, huh? And do that Pluto move? Everything begins with an inward cast. And then, if you wish to get anywhere, you must go there on the inside and meet yourself there when you arrive. Interesting way to capsize people, huh? Held within the soul's alembic. Entrusted to the angels. Well, what about the arch nemesis that was angled in the corner, producing a similar scent? Common. So these things got shut off because they were literally trying to perform a sex and tile a floor on you as a test, just like that. What a mess. So, these things take on a whole new meaning now. Let's see what the House of 9, that Aquarius MC, you know, maybe I'm like the illest, chillest MC that proved to you that even my MC is in the House of 9, 7 degrees, Pisces, shining the whole time, and why I can speak to you in this design like this, and why they don't actually get to grow something on your head here after splitting through the, you know, Dungeons & Dragons 10 Brennan Craxistan treatment that I just explained. Because violets are blooming by the barred windows of a dungeon, and, you know, the sky was all violet. There was no umbilical noose to this one, and I'll show you why. They have been trying to harvest through a SCOBY. If those of you do not know what a SCOBY is, it is actually a highly advanced being that people have been consuming in kombucha and in jun. It's a special kind of brain. It might look a little like a jellyfish. And some people that wanted to take a limited liability on a plant figured out how to get that registered with a trademark. You know, it's a very pitchforky idea to do, especially to market that to your friends as some sort of magic cat for special powers and what it was going to do. It basically has become a plant that has outsmarted them, that is now consuming them by their mind. And so you have a plant extraction that's peeling certain things from a skin that we didn't design that way. And why the moon landing, the suggested moon landing, was on these psychotropic mushrooms that everybody's on here in the place that I'm not in Colorado. I'm in the rad place that proves what didn't happen in DIA, now that I own DTC. Exactly. And so we have quantized all of the resonance points, and there's some little dots, and most of what people think is in the world is big inflation, like rubber balloon that's been blasted with air from gases. Exactly. And so they've been particle relocated and dematerialized and shrunk down into the cement underneath DIA. Okay. And so what's happening right now is we've been trying to figure out where all these bodies showed up, because some of you all don't realize it's like the stuff inside of you that's all splashed like that is proof that we got wrapped with a very special skin that's unpacking this, and that some of those things don't go into the, well, where I showed you, you're protected, because mine are over here. This whole yellow space. This here, this is where you are. If you're mine, we're here. We already made it inside of Tandoor. And so if you missed that, then it's like this nuclear chaos fire shit going on, and where they were trying to split you is through this new moon idea, where they would plant those violets up everywhere that had to go through blue to explode with the red. Oh my goodness. And what the mushrooms springing up everywhere are that don't basically split up in your head, because this only happens if you do that split here, and what this sigil is here. It's somebody trying to split what was not a 9, what was not a 6. What I showed you was these two, and just trying to twist it through a design. And what we know about Mobius strip. If you know what a Mobius strip is, look it up. It's a nice way to trip into that trap door that doesn't exist, you know? And so mushrooms spring up everywhere, psychotropic, enough to pull people into the neural network and flip, flop, flip, flop, flip, flop, flip. And then they can handle all that chopping that's been going on in that place and keep doing that. And some of us have been extracted, you see? And so why, if you open it up, or if you try to double up that, you know, this 4 and this 4 here, you get us to 8, which I'm going to take you to here in a little bit, because that 8 there is actually where we open this up. Let's see here. Open, 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 open. The window to the kangaroo portal. It doesn't happen that way. Hold on a second. This is not where I wanted that. Yep. Do it this way. Open. Much better. All right. So, what are we looking at here? People can be very confused, because one thing that I might imagine or say, another person might hear another way, in their mind, in their energy, in the creative substance of this petri dish that's highly intelligent, that is sound sticky, can create totally different things. So it's important that we had certain things figured out and sorted out, where they could be distilled through this very specific witness, where 3 get it right. And if you have been following the sigils on my community board, you'll see where I've been giving you the ciphers for this. And here's why those doors were locked. What we're looking at right now that I think is really important, where I wanted to show you this. Let's see, use my green. Give me green. That green right there. That one. Okay. Is because of this 8 right here. That's a little thick. Sorry, let me break this down. A little smaller than that. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so what these mean, we are communicating about how energy gets shared. When you try to split water, there's a nuclear reaction that's actually the bomb that's been going on the whole time. Just people didn't see it because we were all broken up into these other versions of ourselves that were strangulating. Because we need to breathe and drink the same substance. Plasma is the intelligent screens that got what our blood knows matched to what we've been seeing, hearing, etc., and why we are all being quantized new, and why nobody gets to cut that water and stuff a being in or try to create another idea of how that happens, and why where this happened to open up for me today on communication is paramount, because we had just seen that the double down was for how we were going to wake up morning, and the communication would be morning, and what the morning is for more Mondays when it's one strong inception now. What if you were meek and that flipped upside down, and this is the week that you keep hearing about? For me, it's terrible homonyms. It's like telling people to just be EAK, weak. And now we have a sport for that. EA Sports. It's gone into these green screens to fix that on homonyms and homophones, because sounds like creates that in your form, whether or not you see it. That's why I never tell you, oh, it's the week. Like, okay, it's the week, but no, let's know that we're not weak, that we are being strong. These things are important because with this Mercury retrograde, it's like our chance to review how we're communicating these things. This is computing language. This is why some of us have evolved. A gypsy peasant woman sings a mournful chant. The earth is broken. The compact between a human soul and her earth housing is violated. You know, it sounds like that's what they've been prescribing, doesn't it? That's enough to piss me the F off. And that's why Venus actually moved a degree as well. From 18 to 19 degrees, which we're going to talk here in a minute too, because this happened overnight. This has been a getaway move. So, why? Because after that mournful chant, at dusk, a vampire was awakening to sigil himself in there. Remember the woman who was asleep in the ring of flames? The woman being imprisoned in a high tower for a high fill? This is what was prescribed to us. We are not in that place. That place does not exist. So let's see where they wanted to fork it. 3 ways for a false trinity here on the view of this moon. You know, what is this moon? It's the new tomb, where most of them landed in one pack that was less than 2 megabytes worth of light in exchange because of how they got packed. So little light. Where a child may have been previously overlooking a precipice, considering their mortality, and why a kangaroo baby is the next step here. A step-in child who looks out from the mother's pouch, you know, as if she's a purse. These things were being swept into a design like this on sound, where some of it was being masqueraded as treble or bass clef, and what they would try to fork in between in your brain, and why the brain and the intestines look similar. For some of you, here's what you need to know. We woke up and we landed in this simulation because some of us were trying to figure out where the bodies were so that we could just make sure ours were safe. We didn't understand what was happening. With all of the pain and chaos, it looked like they were consuming each other, and why some of you actually feel like you're with your twin. And according to their narrative, you ate them, and that's why they're liquefied inside of you. And this body is a separate skin that wrapped, because there was like a flesh-eating virus that's been going around on an AI level that's been infused with psychic fusion. So some of you just have like hybrid bodies where you've got the really good skin, you've got the other stuff inside, it's being hyper-materialized, and there's extra stuff that's going into the mixer, and it's like literally, we can actually format program the space where without all the moochers everywhere, it's like you can particle materialize, like beam me up, partner. Where it's like, yeah, exactly. So those of you that didn't get the frisk dots at TSA might actually be in one form. Some of you might have been shattered so many different ways in so many different films and sold that you don't even realize, and this is what I've been protecting. So that you can actually integrate properly, and where any fuckwits that tried to buy and sell you like that and sell you back to yourself for the answers and stuff really get a screwball attack, because some of you all have been messed with. And you know, some of you all that I'm talking to, you know, I have a small following here of people, and I can't even say following, because I don't want you to fall lower. Maybe that's why there's only so few, and mine are very, very intelligent and stay very close with me. I know something about some of my readers that are actually my friends here that have been helping me with this work, and why you have actually been psychic stalked. For some of those, you know, see iller. For the chiller who might have been knocking at your door and rolling back the funds. Because I'm hearing for some of you all, you were wondering where those came from because it happened in a rash. Some of you have been sigiled for that, because there is actually a game called BitCash that you all did not know about, that I've been investigating on all of these currents, okay? So some of you were actually being BitCashed by people that were, here, I'll show you. It's a stake. Green hash just shows us who was getting paid for all of the interest. But it's BitCash because it was splitsies on BC, who got the ad and who got germinated. Kind of Dead Sea Scroll caught you and then went back and sold you your own data. Because for some of you all, you have actually been enabling the false prophets to actually come back with the story. That's what you didn't know. And so that's why it's nuke loaths time. So, what happened here? Where they were trying to split this here, because the only way you can do that is if you pull a being all the way around itself through its own head here, through the sun and moon for that little peep. And that's why it's a joke about a blink in. You know, it's a blink in, not Abe Lincoln. It's a blink in. A blink. And that was the missing link for the false landers that are actually called Nephilim. And so I went real reverend on this. You know, I've studied all these religions and crusty fucking books. So these things are called Nephilim. And it's funny when they try to a blink in your eye during press idents day, week, morning things to wake you up sorrowful on the other side of a really bad kite. That was a bad high that they all got on with the microdot prescription on my gnosis team and what I did with the mushrooms. So they get wrapped up in that, the false skin, and then some of us have a sleep peel because that sleepwalker thing doesn't fucking happen. And why here we're talking about now 17 degrees Pisces with a Poseidon daddy move saying, hey, you want to make a trinity out of that by splitting a head 3 ways and, you know, trying to take a trunk on some baby elephant and taking its head like that and sigilling yourself like that? That sounds like some Bilderberg bullshit, new age crap. And what doesn't get to happen, what didn't happen in DIA, and why some of these stories get to take a real bath. Because a seed bearer for the future, who was inwardly alive to multi-sensory faculties and worlds within worlds within worlds, bearing legacy, wouldn't fork it over like that. And also pull it through a moon like that to sell it to the child whose head was split open and then, you know, maybe crowned with this. You know, it's like dropping that silver tactic over somebody's head here after it just got split open. And what I've been proving about Parkinson's in an investigation I've had to do on our estate and my father's house. And so this is where Chiron gets a real nice fun time here, because it's just kicking out squares. It's like, here's what you don't get to do for that sextile here. Why, you know, that sextile that was being suggested, it's kind of like getting blocked here. It's like the magnet knowing what to do. It's like how magnets know, hey, that way, and sometimes, you know, not this other way, you know? So this is where this gets programmed, and why Let's see what Aries 3 says, because this is where Chiron is located right now. Okay, you want to know where the liftoff happened? The outer casing of the Great Pyramid being removed. There you go. Candor, stark naked honesty, getting rid of all false coverings, going for what counts. You are sharply intent upon getting at the truth and staying on the truth. Self-disclosure, an extraordinary aptitude for reality, where everything was caught on a reel as well. A little bit more like this, where you got caught red-handed. Because you're real like that in many different angles now. You are the world's most direct person, willing to be seen and known unequivocally. The jackhammer treatment, compliments of ASMR Art of Love by INF Jacob. Blunt, brutal, and straightforward, devoid of charm or grace, but right on the mark. Gutsy and incorrigible. Fantastic! Now that we know they don't split that open because that got lifted, then we have a cup of overflowing clear water going where the goddess actually is safe at always, because she actually was being brought through a nasty dream to be pulled through her sleep in a grope. And why Aries, why I couldn't even read this to you, on the previous landing spot for the new moon where they wanted to land her with that mushroom to wrap her up, you know, and surrender her like that. That was Aries 18, where it's a jellyfish, you know, neither being one thing nor another. No longer belonging, not yet attaining. You live in limbo and fiercely get ready, where they just drag you through that. Like a Freddy Krueger grab on some weird waterbed you didn't know was wrapped around you. Why, this outer casing got ripped off to prove to you what Mars knows how to do with a swift kick. Because they were going to pull her through that Medusa lens, you know, take a clip for the leap year. Someone performing a trephination, you know, on the head of the goddess, right? Is that what this is here? Is that what these extra things are here? Is this like some of the goddesses, you know, is that some of Medusa's hair? Is this why, you know, she was split through her head here this way for a red rise? Or these things came if we split her through the head here as a Taurus for a red mark? And why she would come up here without any hair, and maybe why that Lion King shit is a lie, why we know that sometimes she just moves really fast and knows what to do with her wig. That some of us knew about the actual zoo and the Ark of the Covenant. And who Zool is, you know, maybe the lander. And why the real queen of the jungle then doesn't get spoken of. Where did her wig go? You know, did they take her hair? Bitch wants her hair back. Daddy says she's gonna get it. Nobody gets to pull her through the jellyfish that way. For someone to perform a trephination on her, you know? The head densely holds the patterns of the past as fixed routes. You know, that really sounds to me like somebody trying to get into your 12-strand DNA and trying to cut a piece for themselves. So, these are the things that don't happen. This is why I'm just going to take this nice red here. We'll go a little darker here. Why this whole area is kind of like off limits now. This is off limits. This is off limits. This is where we don't share the pie, and where actually it's like plate tectonics don't exist really. We've got one Bitcoin that we expanded. There's a bunch of torrents. There was no G, you know, that 3 to 5 G for a spread there to twist, tie. A static halo around these things freezing and locking into place. Don't think so. There's one. Some of us got relocated onto it. The C2019 Q4 Borisov spot view was very helpful. Some of us got relocated there. These other things don't land. We've got an outer darkness void of black catastrophe that got wrapped as well. Some people have been calling the planets. That are actually, if they're not wrapped like that, they move so much faster that everything just shatters again. And we've quarantined the cataclysms as such. So some of you all very safe at home. Just know I appreciate the wonderful phone calls that you have made, because for some of you all, seriously, this has been horrendous for me to have to go through and to have to try to figure out how all of it works and making sure that it did, because it's been working right the whole time. We've had assholes saying that there's Satoshi Nakamoto trying to like pinpoint this stuff just so that they can get porn dolls made of you, and where I've put them into a serious motherfucking trap that I've programmed. You are looking at the inside of my control panel. We have quarantined this at 0 point. This is the end of anybody being able to molest children, molest your mind, molest form, or take a false idol. And so some people have been talking about things that really need to be addressed differently, because there are new ways that we can speak that create more light and less catastrophe. And hopefully some of you all are willing to upgrade your application of your skills and your prowess at this time, because some of you all are being introduced to a whole new way to thrive. Thank you for being one of mine. Love you very much. Catch you again soon. We're back for another one.
Promise that you'll catch me.